All right. It's 436 800-222 KABC is the telephone number. Joining us right now is the author of the New York Times bestseller, number 11 for her, Adios America, available online at Amazon.com. You can, of course, follow her on Twitter at Ann Coulter. Ann Coulter, how are you?
Fine, thank you. How are you kids?
We're great on a Friday. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
You're not in the city right now?
No, I was just saying I need to make a plan. I need to get back to L.A.
Absolutely.
Now, Ann, the big debate going on right now in the presidential campaign is whether or not Ted Cruz is even eligible to be president. He was born in Calgary. He had two passports, an American one and a Canadian one. His dad was a Cuban citizen. His mom was an American. What say you?
I believe he denies the passport issue, but it's really irrelevant. There's no question but that he's not natural born, which I plan to write up, although I think it's kind of irrelevant because the big thing that makes him ineligible for the presidency is that in responding to Donald Trump, he used the hacky cliche in the universe that Donald Trump had jumped the shark. So I'm out right there.
That whole saying's "jump the shark," and
yeah. Whenever you're referencing Fonzie, then you need to go back to the drawing board.
No, every hack has been using "jump the shark" for
the guy who created it doesn't even use it anymore. No, he doesn't. He made a fortune off of it, and he's like retired.
It's so horrible. So even though Donald Trump is polling at like 42% and Cruz at 14%. I mean, I do think it's worth considering. I don't think we're all Ruth Bader Ginsburg yet, and the Constitution means whatever we want it to mean. But citizenship, natural-born citizenship in the U.S. and England and France has always been based on being born here. There are exceptions to that, like for the children of illegal aliens, the children of ambassadors. In English common law, they weren't anticipating La Raza rushing Mexicans across the border when they were 8 months pregnant, but there is an exception for hostile aliens on your territory giving birth.
We just did a study. Science has now proven that Canadians are way more polite than Americans. So what do you say? We're just the nice neighbors to the north, and we don't meet any harm.
Exactly.
You know. But I agree. He wasn't born in the States, so he's
right. So he can be what you'll notice all these, because I've been looking at. I was briefly fooled for about a week at one point on this because lawyers I generally respect kept saying, "Oh no, here's Paul Clement and Neil Patel in the Harvard Law Review, and they say he's a natural-born citizen." But for one thing, you'll notice they cite their legal authorities don't go back through 300 years of common law or Supreme Court cases, of which there are a number, all of which will be in my column next week. But they cite things like, seriously, in 2008, the United States Senate unanimously passed a resolution saying John McCain is a natural-born citizen. Well, all due respect to the stress on the word unanimously, that's not really very impressive legal authority. You can be a citizen at the time you are born, as Ted Cruz was. That isn't what makes you natural-born. That is a form of naturalization. And in fact, anyone born outside of the United States to an American citizen mother and a non-American citizen father would not have any credible claim to citizenship until 1934, as the Supreme Court has put it in various decisions. If your citizenship comes from a law passed by Congress and not from the Constitution, you are not a natural-born citizen eligible to run for president.
And John McCain was a completely different situation.
But
he was born in the Panama Canal Zone.
Either. His is at least a closer case. I had thought that was a U.S. That he was born on a military base. Was it a military base?
Yeah.
I mean, was that U.S. territory?
Yeah,
yes,
we owned the Panama
both.
Canal
it was
at the
both.
time.
It was a military base on U.S.
If it was U.S.
soil.
territory, and similarly, if you're born in a United States embassy abroad, that's within the territory of the United States. Now, obviously, the law has changed many times over the years. There was just a case last year, a passport case, where the Supreme Court found the question was. It doesn't really matter, but the question was this guy and born to two American citizens in Israel, and he wanted Jerusalem on his passport. But the State Department doesn't recognize Jerusalem as being Israel's. So the Supreme Court found, okay, for your passport purposes, that's foreign policy. The State Department decides that. But for what goes on your birth certificate, that is naturalization, so Congress has power over naturalization, which means even though this guy born to two American citizens in Israel, when he was born, the moment he emerged from mommy, he was a U.S. citizen. He still wasn't natural born because his citizenship came by dint of congressional legislation over naturalization, what you went through, Jillian.
Yeah.
So how would this get resolved then? Does someone eventually take Ted Cruz to court, and then if they end up winning and he's president, he gets tossed out of office and the vice president takes over?
Well, there are a number of ways. I keep hearing another thing, and this whole thing has been an exercise in never trust any lawyers anymore. You have to do the legal research yourself. It is so results-oriented. By the way, I concluded that Cruz was not a natural-born citizen when he was my choice for president. I'm not saying this. Everyone's acting like, oh, it's because you support Trump. No, I at least know in April of 2015, I was saying it on the Kudlow radio show because I could check my email, and a bunch of Cruz supporters ganged up on me on email. But I'd looked at the law at that point. That was not when I was fooled. But everyone seems to be deciding what the Constitution says based on what they'd like the Constitution to be. But I'm sorry, what did you... Oh, how would it be resolved? They also keep saying, oh, but there's no way to challenge it. That's insane. I'm sorry. But, what if Vladimir Putin or Assad decides to run for president in the United States? You're telling me there's no way for any court to resolve that until he's actually sitting in the Oval Office? Of course there are ways to resolve it. For one thing... someone could sue in state court to keep Ted Cruz off the ballot.
Well, what would happen?
Right,
what would happen if,
Hillary
let's say,
could sue? If I could just throw in one more thing, Hillary could sue. She has standing to sue.
If someone was 25 years old,
right,
and they would turn 26 at some point in the first term, how would they be prevented from taking office? Would there have to be a lawsuit? Would Congress then step in and impeach them because they don't meet the requirements?
No, the other thing that can happen, which is why I like Ted Cruz, but I'm glad Donald Trump brought it up, is Republican primary voters can stop listening to results-oriented lawyers, read my little column, at least if they're thinking of voting for Cruz, and not vote for him. That's one thing. So in other words, their position is that if, in fact, Obama had been born in Kenya, he'd be a natural-born citizen because nobody contests that his mother was an American citizen.
That's
right.
Why
didn't they just come back and say that then? Why didn't they say, so what, he's still a natural-born citizen?
Well, it's because they want Ted Cruz in the White House and they didn't want Obama in the White House, so they're not applying the same logic to each one.
Right. I guess that's right. But it never occurred to anyone to say, oh, no, sure, you can have only one American citizen parent, and it can be your mother. No, nobody contested whether Obama's mother was an American citizen. So I suppose the most important thing is just for people, I think, to know what the truth is about these things. Oh, and one other thing that I think is interesting, all of this I will not be able to put in my column.
Hang on 1 second. We have to take a quick break. We'll be back with Ann Coulter, but right now it's time to take a look at the roads. Jillian Barbary, John Phillips here at 4:49 on a Friday. Did we mention that?
Not enough.
800-222-KABC is the number. We're joined by Ann Coulter, author of the book Adios America, available online at Amazon.com. You can follow her on Twitter at Ann Coulter. So, Ann, you were making another point about whether or not Ted Cruz is eligible before we hit the break.
Yes, part of what fooled me and could be fooling people now is, well, for one thing, never listen to other lawyers. Look the law up yourself. But in particular, it seemed like lawyers were saying it against interest, which I actually was back when I supported Cruz. It was long before Trump 6 months before he jumped in. Romney was out, so that pretty much only left Cruz, as you know. But he still wasn't natural born. But, for example, the article everyone cites from the Harvard Law Review last year was written by Solicitor Generals under, I guess, both Obama and Bush. But what you and also I was on Geraldo once, and Alan Dershowitz was on, and he said, "Oh yes, he's absolutely Cruz is absolutely a natural-born citizen." And so you tend to take statements like that, or at least I do, a little more seriously because it seems to be, as we say in the law, a statement against interest. It's not that he wants Cruz to be president, so he must just be telling me what the law is. But I started to notice, reading through these citizenship opinions and the law review articles, conservatives want to say Cruz is natural born, or McCain, the time before, at least establishment Republicans wanted to, because they want this particular guy to be eligible. Liberals they say it because they think American citizenship is meaningless. It's worthless. They want it to actually mean nothing. They want the entire world to be, quote, citizens of the United States. Marco Rubio had a bill in the Senate that would have made all of Mexico citizens of the United States. So liberals you will always find saying, oh, yeah, everybody's a citizen. Well, no, there are specific rules on this. There are, 300 years of common law from British history. It was the two ways are jus sanguinis and jus soli, meaning right by land or right by descent. The Axis powers, America, England, France, they have always held, no, for citizenship, for nationality, in our case, natural-born citizen, you have to be born within the four corners of the country. Any other citizenship, either it doesn't exist or it only exists by legislation. The one country that determines nationality by blood, or at least the one that, in Western Europe, guess which one? Germany.
Huh.
Of course, it's Germany.
Well, here's the thing that I believe. I think that if he actually gets elected, let's say he wins the nomination and then wins the big prize in November, all of these people on the left that are saying that he qualifies will then change their tune and say he doesn't qualify and then try to get him kicked out that way.
No, I can't imagine that happening because, again, he used the phrase jumped the shark. But if he were just, playing a game of hypotheticals, if he got the nomination, and if he were a threat, they might not even bother. They might keep it in their back pocket for the next one. Yeah, then Hillary brings a lawsuit, and she, it's never been done like that before, but it seems to me she has standing to contest that. And certainly a state lawsuit to keep Cruz off the ballot on the grounds that he's not eligible to be president, so you can't put him on the ballot in my state. That seems like a good way to go. I don't know. You might be able to get a declaratory judgment, but not generally from the Supreme Court. They don't do that.
Right, and if you get it from some lower judge, then it can be overturned anytime the court wants to take a look at it.
Right, and that's the issue with Cruz's citizenship. If it is given by the legislature, even if it's at birth, if it is given by the legislature, it can be taken away. It is not natural born. It may be citizenship the moment you're born, but it is citizenship by naturalization, not by natural birth.
I just don't want this, he gets into office and it's 4 years of people. This is the
lawsuits.
topic. Enough already. He's born in Canada. He was born in a different country. Enough.
All right. Ann, thanks so much for stopping by. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Ann.
Good to talk to you. Bye-bye.
Have a great weekend.